So let's just review some vocabulary from coordinate plane, lines, stuff like that. So the x-axis is horizontal. It's the horizontal line on the coordinate plane where the points are plotted moving left or right. X-axis is left or right. So down here in this picture, where should we put x-axis? There's actually two blanks. So because there's two blanks, I'm going to call this one over here the positive x-axis. So if I call that one positive, what do you think I'm going to call this one? Excellent. And I really love how you all just did that too. I didn't have to call on somebody. Love it. Remember, the more you put into something, the more you get out of it. We have the y-axis vertical line on a coordinate plane where the points are plotted moving up or down. So right up here, what am I going to call this one? Positive. Yay! That just made me smile, and I don't smile, so. The positive y-axis. And then the bottom one is going to be the negative y-axis. We do ordered pairs. That's a point that is identified by an x and a y coordinate as a pair. We always write the x coordinate first, then the y coordinate. The origin is the point at the center of the coordinate plane. So wherever I see my coordinate plane, the center is going to be the origin, and we call that 0, 0. That's where all the numbers are going to originate from. We're going to start there. And then the four sections that the axes divide the coordinate plane into are called quadrants. Quadrant. And we always call them 1, 2, 3, 4, but we use Roman numerals. Does anybody know which one is 1? Martin?
Where both the positive y-axis and the positive x-axis.
Excellent. That was a really good way of describing it. He said use the positive x-axis and the positive y-axis in between those. So this is going to be quadrant 1. Then from here, do we go clockwise or counterclockwise, or do we know? Yes. Weird, but yeah, we go counterclockwise, and this is going to be quadrant 2. We keep going. This will be quadrant 3 down here. And then quadrant 4, written in Roman numerals, is IV. Now there's some ordered pairs I kind of skipped over. That is just going to show what's positive and what's negative. Do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say that you said you should positive like coordinate plane, like the order.
Yeah, that's good. I've never heard that before. So it goes, coordinate plane is like a C. I like it. Thank you for sharing that. I might use that in my next bill. Okay, so the first quadrant, when we graph stuff in here, you go, like Martin said, you go positive x-axis and you go positive y-axis. So we're just going to say the first quadrant is positive, positive. So for the second quadrant, we go what first? Negative, then positive. And then the third quadrant is negative, negative, and the fourth quadrant is positive, negative. Very good. Oh my gosh, hard stuff, right? Hi, I'm going to pause the video for a second. Alright, so on this page, intercepts. These are going to be very, 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 very important this year. Actually, Algebra 2 is a lot of graphing. A lot of graphing. So we want to be friends with the graphs early. We want to know how to do them early. So, x-intercept and y-intercept are things that we will find over and over again. The x-intercept is the point on the graph where the y value is 0, which means it's going to cross through the x-axis. This is where y is 0. So the x-intercept always looks like some number, comma 0. The y-intercept is, if I looked on the graph, it would cross the y-axis. It's the point where the x value is 0. So if I got to write an ordered pair, it would be 0, comma, the y value. Daniel. I couldn't hear you. I can zoom in, but I'm having to zoom back out. See, I can't like fit all the words in there. So, it's in my writing, you just can't read what I'm writing. So I need to move him to the front, is what you're saying? Okay, let me move this too. Let's look at example 1A. It says circle the x-intercept and star the y-intercept. So I'm going to look at the x-axis. You know what's funny? It's not even x and y, it's like t and p. I'm going to change that just because of the directions. There we go. Now it's x and y. Circle the x-intercept. So we're going to look at the x-axis. Where does the graph pass through the x-axis? Yeah, it's like decimals, right? You know what? I don't even have to find it. I just have to circle it. Yes, Devin? Oh, you were going to tell me the answer. We just need to circle it. So what I did, it kind of looks like eyeballs. I put a dot and then I circled it. Alright? And then it says put a star for the y-intercept or intercept. So we look at the y-axis. And I don't know what decimal it is. It's somewhere about right there. We need to star that baby. There we go. Can you guys try the next one on your own? And we will check with my answer. See if you can circle the x-intercept and star the y-intercept. Again, these are decimals. You're not going to be able to find exactly where it is. You're just going to say, hey, that's where it crosses the x-axis, and here. There's my x-intercept. My y-intercept looks like there's only one of them. I don't know what number that is. Maybe 4. Right there. So we can identify them on a graph. Okay, next is review over slope. So slope is only used for lines. It's only used with lines. Slope is only for lines. We're going to use the word slope if we're talking about a line. What does it have to do with the line? Like what about the line? The steepness, the angle that it's at? I like to use the word steepness, but angle works too. No. I know what you meant. Here, it often is referred to as rise over run, because that's how we would graph it. And we have a formula to find the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. As we're looking at this formula, if you see something like y2, that means the second y coordinate. y2 with the lower 2, the tiny little 2 means the second y coordinate. What would y1 mean? The first y coordinate. What would x2 mean? The second x coordinate. So the number at the bottom is just telling you which one it is. So here, there's 4 examples. You can see 3 of them right now. There's 4 examples of different kinds of slopes: positive slope, negative slope, zero slope, and then the 4th one, I'll move it over in a second, undefined slope. The way that I remember this is, you guys read from left to right, at least in English, we read from left to right. It's the same way that you look at slopes, from left to right. So from left to right, if it's going uphill, from left to right, if the line is going uphill, that's a positive slope. It's up. If it is going downhill from left to right, negative slope. So positive is up, negative is down. What is not positive and not negative? Zero. So zero does not go up and it does not go down. It goes straight across, horizontal. Well, you can write horizontal in there if you want. So then we have the oddball out of the four of these really. Undefined slope. So we've got positive, negative, zero, and then undefined slope. If I were going to ski, and I tried to ski this line, is that even possible?
No.
No, it's not. You would not be skiing. You would be tumbling to your death, right? So undefined slope is the hill that you couldn't ski. So this one is vertical. And I say ski because it's talk about slope and you think like ski slopes, maybe. They have examples with numbers down here. It says any number. I'm going to write that with a variable instead. My example for this bottom one here would be 0 over a number. And my example for undefined would be a number over 0. Now some of us forget which one's which. But if you look at the undefined and you look at n over O, that says no. This is the one you can't do. So that's the one that's undefined. The other one, 0 over n, if you get a 0 over any number, it is 0. But this one, no, you can't do. Okay, so now this says draw an example of the above types of each slope. So we need to draw an example of a line that has a positive slope. Can you do it without me? Try. Use pencil just in case you make mistakes. Use a straight edge. I'll use pencil. Our lines will not necessarily be the same. From left to right, it has to be going up. If you go from left to right, it is going up, wherever you put it. Negative. From left to right, it's going down. 0, horizontal. And undefined is vertical. When you are ready to go on, turn your page so I know that you are ready to go on. So a lot of us are coming in here with different skill sets, and some of us work way faster than others. Some of us work way slower than others. But my job is to make this material accessible for every single person. If you want a challenge, I will give you challenges. If you need extra help, I will give you extra help. But when you pass Algebra 2, we should all have the basic stuff down. So if you are working ahead, which is totally fine because I talk really slow, plus I'm recording a video and I want to make sure that everybody like, I don't want to skip stuff on the video. I want to make sure I cover everything. If you're working ahead, that's fine. Just make sure that you're checking your answers, because you might miss something. And I don't want you to miss something that I view as important, but you really haven't learned yet. Okay. Now it says using 2 points, we're going to find the slope of the line. And then we're going to classify the type of slope. So classify means positive, negative, 0, undefined. All right? So this formula, if you don't have the formula memorized, I'm not going to give you the formula on a quiz or a test. So may I suggest every time, if you don't have the formula memorized, every time you are writing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Sorry, it turns off sometimes. So we're writing the formula out each time before we plug the numbers in so that you get the formula memorized. Writing it over and over again. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the slope. I write m equals so I remember what this is that I'm using it. Then we're going to do second y minus, first y is negative, so I put minus negative 1 over second x minus negative 2. So I have to have the minus negative next to each other. And I will simplify this. I'm going to have 3. What happens when we do minus and negative? Plus, right? So we got 3 plus 1 over 4 plus 2. Get 4 over 6. Is that my final answer?
No.
So you have to reduce it. What number can I divide 4 and divide 6 by? 2. See, I'm like writing everything. You guys might be able to do that in your head, but I do not assume every single person can do that in their head, therefore I write everything. So that's my slope. Question B. If I don't know my slope formula, I'm going to start out by writing m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then I'll plug stuff in. 9 minus 6 over negative 3 minus negative 3. Then I'm going to simplify. If I have minus and negative on the bottom, that becomes a plus sign. And I get 3 over 0. Oh, I forgot to classify the first one. I'll go back and do it. What is a number over 0? No. What does no mean? Undefined. That is my slope. That is also my classification. Let me go back to this one I forgot to classify. What's 2/3 classify as? Positive, negative? Okay, positive. Good. The last one. I'm hoping you're working a little bit faster than me. I don't have my formula memorized. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's going to be 2 minus 4 over 3 minus 2. Negative 2 over 1. That reduces to negative 2. Then I classify it, and it is what? Bless you. Negative. Are we feeling this? Too easy? Too easy. Too easy? Good. Enjoy it while you can. Okay. Next is reviewing just different formats. The one that you guys know the most is probably slope-intercept form. It is called slope-intercept because the slope is m and the y-intercept is b. That's why it's called slope-intercept, because it has the slope and the intercept right there. Oh, and right here it says y-intercept is b and slope is m. It says it right there. Okay, and then point slope form, which you might not know as much, actually gets used more. So this one, if we don't know it, this is the one we're going to write over and over again so we can memorize it. In this one, m is the slope, and then x1, y1 is a point. So it's called point slope form because you use a point and the slope to write this equation. And finally, standard form is ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are integers, and a must be an integer. By the way, integer is like, a positive. And integer is not fractions, not decimals. And we're not even really going to do much with standard form. It's mainly the first two, just so you guys know. But I also teach pre-calc, and we do this in pre-calc, which is your next step for some of you. All right. Write the equation on a line using the given information. So we look and see what information we're given and decide what we want to use to write the equation. I'm given the slope, and I'm given a point. Which equation, if I have the slope and a point, which equation uses those words? Point slope form. So I'm going to plug everything into point slope form for this one. If I don't have it memorized, I'm going to write it. I gave you like half a page to write it. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's my point slope form. We plug in our slope for the m spot, -3. Our y and our x that don't have numbers are still y and x. Subtraction for both of those, and then we put in the ordered pair, but some people make mistakes and don't really pay attention to the order. The ordered pair goes x and y, but down here you actually put the y first. So I'm going to put the 3 here, and then the -2 with the x. Okay. Then I'm going to simplify that, so I have y minus 3 equals -3. I'm just going to simplify x plus 2. This right here is point slope form. That was pretty doable. I'll tell you, most of the time though, we don't usually leave it in point slope form. We usually take it and put it in a different format for whatever to use this for. So I'm going to show you. Let's take this one and change it into slope-intercept form. So we're going to take this one and rewrite it into y equals mx plus b form from this step. So what I need to do is I need to simplify things and get it so y is by itself. You want to make it as easy as you can on yourself. Let's distribute the -3 first. Do the distributing first. So I'll have y minus 3 equals -3x. And what happens when I multiply a -3 times a positive 2? It becomes a -6. And then from here, add 3 to get rid of it by the y. Add that 3 so it cancels out by next to that y. We get y equals -3x minus 3. And now it's in slope-intercept. So we've got point slope form and slope-intercept form. Moving on. Okay, question B. The information is that we know it goes through 2 points. So, point. Is there a point form up here?
No.
There is not a point form. There's either slope-intercept form or there's point slope form. I haven't even said anything really about standard form. We're not going to use that one. Not today. Slope-intercept form or point slope form. What do I need to do either of these? Rachel?
I was just going to say find the slope
Yes.
and then use either point slope or
So I am gonna use point slope form. But yeah, you have to find the slope. So then we use that slope finding formula that we already went over, and if you forget it, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I plug the numbers in. -7 minus -1 over 1 minus -2. Minus minus becomes a plus. I get -6 over 3. That reduces -2. I now have my slope. Then I'm going to do point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. See, I'm going kind of fast. This is where the video you could go back and watch. If I went too fast or you missed something, you could always go back and add it into your notes later. So I'm going to plug stuff in. I'm going to plug in y minus. I'm going to take, oh no, which ordered pair do I use? There's two of them. This is point slope, not point slope. Which point do I use? Why? Oh, because it says x1, y1? So sure, but you know what? It doesn't make a difference. You could use the second one if the second one has better numbers. You're totally right. It says to use it. But since this passes through both of these points, it doesn't matter which point you use. But I feel like I'm going to use the first one. I'm going to do y minus -1 equals my slope of -2 multiplied by x minus -2. So y plus 1 equals -2 times x plus 2. That's point slope form. I'm going to take that further. I'm going to take it from point slope form and I'm going to change it into y equals mx plus c slope intercept form. So to do that, we're going to distribute that -2. We're going to distribute first. Y plus 1 equals -2x minus 4. Subtract 1. Cancels it out here. X minus 5. Okay, when you're ready to go on, turn the page. Last tiny little bit of notes. Last page is really short. Says exploration, plot and label these points. Hold on, I'm reading upside down. Plot and label 3 points. Oh yeah, so the lines are, I'm sorry, just read. The lines are already there. You just need to find 3 points that it passes through. I'm going to find 3 points, the ordered pair sets that this line passes through. It can be any 3 points you want. Any 3 points. And then it says label them. So I'm going to find the ordered pairs for each of these. There's nothing in here that says you have to use the exact same 3 points as the teacher. If you did, that's fine. Number 1. On the left side. See how it's like divided? On the left side, number 1. What do you notice about the x value? The x values are all different. Okay. And number 2, what do you notice about the y values?
No.
They're all the same. What are they? So they're all the same. They all equal 3. Okay, now I want you to do that exact same stuff, but for the stuff on the right. There's a line. It might be kind of difficult to see. I'll make it more obvious if you can't see it on your paper. There's a line. That's where it is. So you pick 3 points. Do the same kind of question.
I'm just your math lead coach. Remember, I'm your guys' coach. You're just playing a game here or not? You guys are my math lead. Yeah. Matt, what do you notice about the X values for the second one?
Max? That's your name, right? What do you notice about all my X values or your X values? The X values is the first number for each ordered pair. What do you notice? They're all the same. They're all -1. Yeah. Are all equal to -1. Devin, welcome to the class. What do you notice about my Y values or your Y values? They're all different. So now I'm going to add something on to each of these. I'm going to show you the actual equations for these lines. The equation for this first one that I did in purple, for the one on the left, the equation of that line is y equals 3. That's the equation of that line. And how can I get that from the ordered pairs? Because the y values are always the same number. They're always 3. X has changed, but the y value is always 3. So how about my pink one? X equals -1 is the equation. X is always -1. The y value has changed. X is always -1. So those are the equations. So then we look at the very bottom, and it says the equation of every horizontal line is in the form of y equals a number. I'm going to put B, actually. Or I'll put in a parenthesis the y-intercept. That's every equation. Oh, I'm sorry, I was off the screen a little bit. Y equals some number. And if it is a vertical line, it is always, always, always x equals some number. I'm just going to call it A. But that's going to be the x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. So our assignment today is a worksheet, just like this stuff. This here is like the manual. These are the guide. The questions on the worksheet will just go off of that. So you don't want to put this away. You want this right next to you while you work on the worksheet. And we have time that we will be working on the worksheet now.